Well, it's been a wild week at Fresno City Hall. The mayor's race is suddenly must-see TV. We are still roughly 18 months away, and really it's the talk of the city. And let's bring in our blockbuster panel for the week, KC24 political analyst Larry Powell, and with the Fresno County and City Republican Women Federated, Diane Pearce, and the director of Culta Via La Salud, Veva Islas. Welcome one and all. How are you guys?
Nice to be with you.
I'll tell you what, on this Memorial Day holiday, we had some fun earlier in the week. And Larry, I'm going to start with you. A little shocked to hear from the mayor and this sudden about face on him not seeking re-election?
I would say 10 years ago, things in politics would shock me. Today, nothing does.
Well, okay, you got a point there.
Yeah. But I'm not particularly surprised because I know how difficult the job is as a two-term Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. I know what the pressures are. I know what family does to things. When somebody would criticize me, my family would just as soon go after them. So I get that from the mayor. I think he also is making a very positive strategic decision, and that is use the remaining time in a powerful way to coalesce parks and public safety and maybe get something really special done for the city that could not be done if he stayed in on a permanent basis. So I think there's some really good things that are going to happen as a result. You're going to have a little breathing time for him and for those who like him and dislike him. So I think they're going to come together and we're going to see some positive things happen.
Veva, I want to come to you because Mayor Brand, and you heard him say, this is a total family decision, but there is some talk out there. And many people are saying, is this really pushing Chief Jerry Dyer to run for mayor? Maybe some behind-the-scenes movement here that may have Brand drop out. Are you hearing those things? Or
absolutely, absolutely. And I'm someone, who hears.
So you're saying you are hearing those things?
I am hearing those things,
okay.
And I'm someone, when you hear hooves, I think horses. I don't think zebras. So
okay.
I feel that definitely this was something that was motivated to pave the way for the chief to come in.
Why?
I think that Brand is really struggling with his poor choices related to Measure P, that really is weight bearing him down. I don't think that he was going to be able to get the votes to be reelected.
One measure is too much for a mayor?
It was a huge measure, right? It was a measure that was going to be game-changing for South Fresno. I think a lot of residents that were working with him were working on Measure P, really were hoping that the vote was going to be honored and that we were going to end up with a resolution that was going to drive investments into areas of Fresno that desperately need it. So yeah, I think one was enough.
Diane, are you agreeing with this?
No. First, I want to say that I think Fresno is absolutely indebted to Lee Brand as a councilman and as mayor. He is someone who was really in the trenches and was an integral part of saving the city, as they like to say, one payroll cycle away from bankruptcy. And so whether he ran for re-election or not, his legacy, I think, is secure in what we see today. He made the tough choices. He stood alongside those, and Mayor Swearingen at the time, who was heading up those efforts, and really did an incredible job of coming up with the numbers, making sure everything penciled out, and putting us in a position now to have a 10% of general fund rainy day fund. And so that's quite an accomplishment, and he deserves credit for that.
Larry, obviously you're very close to Measure P.
Sure.
What Veva says here, really a measure could possibly make or break a mayor?
I don't agree completely on that. Obviously, it impacted him considerably. But when you think about it, he was the first to bring together both sides and to come up with a possible solution for bringing parks and public safety together. So I think that's his legacy if he's able to accomplish that in November of 2020. So it's going to be after the March election, which is good. He has at the table people who liked him, didn't like him, support him, didn't support him, all of those, and we're talking, and I'm at the table there as well, and we're talking, and I think we're talking good things for Fresno. So I don't think it's one thing. I think it would be nice if we could say, let's take a politician at his word for what he says. I'm pretty tired of all of the prognosticators who want to say something he didn't say. So how about saying, hey, he said this, let's take him at his word. He's got no reason to do anything else. And I think Jerry Dyer is going to make his own decision. And he's been thinking about this for 11 years, so that doesn't surprise me at all.
Veva, I want to come to you. Some may say, why enter if Chief Dyer is in it? He has so much name recognition. Is he beatable in a race like this?
I mean, we'll see. But, I think for me, earlier in what you shared, his talking point about loving Fresno needs to be more than a talking point. It needs to be demonstrated. And, someone who committed vows and loving his wife and then became unfaithful, again, when somebody shows you who they really are, you believe them the first time. I don't think that he is the mayor that we need. I don't think he's the mayor that's going to bring and unite the city together. I think we need somebody who understands and values Fresno in its entirety, and I haven't seen that from him.
Esmeralda Soria, I am hearing that she may be announcing her candidacy for mayor. Are you guys hearing the same thing? Anybody?
I'm just waiting for the announcement. I've expected it, so when the field is open, I figured whether it was this round or next round that she'd be a player.
Veva?
I haven't heard it directly, and I think if she does, it'd be great. It would be wonderful to have a woman in the mix, and a Latina in particular.
Well, guess what? We're not done yet. We're just getting warmed up right here because we want to ring the bell for round two. We're going